Hello everybody. I want to talk a little bit about how you can help your horse become relaxed and a little bit more regular in their rhythm in the trot, especially when they have a tendency to be perhaps a little bit too much forward. Spidey has a lot of beautiful movement and a beautiful trot, and he has, by nature these big ground covering strides, but he also has, in terms of training, had not necessarily the most finely tuned opportunities to learn how to move himself. And so what happens a lot of times, if you just go into a trot with him and you ride a straight line or even a large circle, any kind of large shape, he will turn himself into this arrow-like structure and become almost like faster and faster and not necessarily more relaxed, as you can imagine. And so to break that up a little bit, the expectation that the horse may have that, forward is the main goal, which unfortunately I find is still too much of a premise in a lot of the more conventional training situations. So everybody's always about forward, the horse has to come from behind. Yes, the horses should be active behind, and of course they should be engaged, but not in terms of speed, because speed makes muscles and tendons and everything stiff and hard and really kind of difficult to handle. And so you have to figure that out of a slower trot, a more relaxed swingy back results, and the hind legs can still be engaged, even nicer because they're not in this, running fight or flight kind of mode. And that's where the relaxation comes in, right? And so I'm not going to talk a whole lot more. I'm just going to start going into a trot with Spidey here, and then I'm going to put myself onto a square serpentine, which basically is a figure. If you ride and put yourself onto like an imaginary rectangle somewhere or in your riding arena, a little bit away from the track is always a good idea, so that you have your horse nicely between both legs, both hands, between both your knees, and you have a really nice friendly aid system that surrounds and embraces your horse. And then you start riding straight, or as straight as possible, and straight lines and corners. And the corners, as you can see with Spidey here, he's a little bit wiggly underneath me. That means that he's not consistently engaged from behind yet, right? And so that's what we're dealing with in the walk, because he's guessing and wondering what I might want, and I'm still in the very beginning stage of him understanding that I'd like a very nice regular walk, just a medium walk, and then a corner again, a straight line here, turning. So I'm going to make him familiar with the shapes that we're going to ride here in a moment. And that's always a good idea when you have a horse that may anticipate certain things, or a horse that might be a little bit on the forward sensitive side, as Spidey is. And so we're going to just continue with our straight lines and corners. And then I'm going to go and take him into a little bit of a sitting trot here on one of these lines, and just sitting trot, walk, back around the corner, straight line. And a few steps of sitting trot again, sitting trot, walk, and a corner again. Right? So that is the beginning of him understanding that we're going on a straight line, or as straight as possible, corner, but we're not going to run off. And of course, these are not very perfect lines or perfect corners at this point, just because this horse is very sort of not quite educated enough to do all of these things. So I'm just going to take, after each corner, a few steps of sitting trot, breathe out, and I ride the corner in the walk. And then again here, a little bit of a trot, and there's, good boy. So, and right now I don't really care if my square figure of 8, or, if it's a real symmetrical figure, I don't really care. I'm just going to go and take the shapes as they offer themselves according to my horse's readiness. And then after a while I might go and say, okay, here we're going to go into posting trot, and we're going to stay on the same rectangular or square serpentine. And, we will just go back and forth, a few steps straight, a few steps on a corner, trying to stay regular in our rhythm, as regular as we can. or not even so much regular, because you can see how we're coming in and out of navigating corners and straight lines, and that is not easy for a young and uneducated horse to navigate with a regular rhythm, right? But it keeps us from the runaway mode. And here we're even going to come slow down to almost a walk, which is also okay. You know, I just want him not to run right now. That is my main objective. And on these corners and straight lines, I want as much relaxation as I can bring him to get to. So, good boy. So, yeah, and you can feel see probably how he is starting to go like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. So he's starting to become a little bit more, with the game, so to speak, and we're just gonna go into this meditative state of riding and saying, nothing exciting here, a few steps straight, a few steps around the corner, straight again, around the corner. There you go, good boy. So, and that's pretty much it, and I can probably, when he's doing well like this, and I feel like he's relaxing, I go into a 2-point, and I ride a regular figure of 8 here. I'm just gonna go on with my lower legs, and kind of just come out of the posting trot. I'm gonna go back into it after a little while, and then I'm gonna go 2-point again. The posting trot always confirms the rhythm again. Even if you're not always on the correct diagonal, or it's a little bit of a sticky spot there, no big deal. And then I'm slowly gonna let him have a little longer rein here. There you go. Give my arms forward and say, here, relax. And this is what I want him to experience. Good boy. And then long rein and the walk, right? So it's a completely imperfect beginning of riding a certain pattern that over time will get better and more precise. But it definitely has its place in the ongoing education of a horse that has learned to go forward, forward, forward in that staccato way that is usually really not pleasant, not fun, not healthy, not productive in terms of the ongoing education of a horse as a dressage horse or as a pleasure horse for anybody to ride, because it's just this exaggeration. I think sometimes people have not a clear understanding of what real forward really means. And suffice to say, it doesn't mean speed. It means engagement from behind, and the engagement from behind will come. It will come naturally, and if you follow some of these kind of exercises and some of the other ones in my videos, you will find that as your horse becomes stronger and more balanced, that the horse will become more forward naturally and out of a place of joy and joyfulness. And, until you get to a point where you have an athlete that can be what I call the jubilant horse, a horse that is so happy to come out and, be warmed up correctly, have a beautiful working phase, and then be cooled down correctly just as nicely and thoughtfully as you did the warm-up. And then, suddenly there's a sense of purpose and meaning for the horse there. There's a sense of, performing to their best ability, and we're helping them and enabling them to do that. And my God, life could be so wonderful if we just take the time with our horses and ourselves, right? Enough of that today. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and happy riding. Good boy, we do that.